Welcome to the Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap Subversiv 3, we're going to recap Submission Underground 17, Mason Fowler versus Craig Jones, and we're going to recap Zapatero Invitational. We are also going to preview BJJ Bet, which is a stacked card. As always in the show, I'm your host, Mange. I'm the co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
I'm doing good, man.
It was a big old week of grappling.
Yeah, dude, Jesus.
Dude, it's so weird this week because we only previewed one event last week, and we have 3 events now that we're covering this week because Subversiv didn't put the names out who's on the card until Thursday afternoon. So it was completely novel to us on Friday, who is going to be on this event. But it was a lot of fun. Start with a little bit of news.
Yeah.
All right, a little bit of news. Let's start with bad news. Kyle Terra has been forced by the Bay Area to close his academy for 45 days. Apparently they were continuing to run classes when they weren't allowed to, and they went, you have to stop running classes or we will fine you $5,000 per class.
Ooh. So
Kyle talked to his lawyers and it was like, yep, we actually have to close for 45 days in order to meet this order.
Jesus.
So that's the thing. Hopefully, that their gym does well, and hopefully that they can meet the government orders in that area and continue to, open back up when they've met that 45-day requirement. In fun news, Craig Jones is going to fight Roberto Jimenez.
God, that's
who's
gonna be
never won in a couple
awesome.
weeks. Dude, that's a matchup that I didn't know I wanted, and then I read about it when I was putting the news together for today. I went, oh yeah, that's a really, really good matchup.
Yeah.
These guys were both on SUG. We'll talk about SUG here in the recap section. But that's a matchup that I'm really, really interested in.
They're both submission hunters as well.
I am curious, though, because Roberto has historically had an issue with leg locks, especially versus Pedro Mourinho.
I can't say historically. I mean, there was a couple of matches where it looked like he got kind of lost in it. And then I remember a match or two after that, it looked like he had started to adjust.
He had the weird match with Tackett at Jits King. He had the match with Mourinho.
Yeah,
the other match with Mourinho.
I remember after those matches, someone else had started throwing leg locks against him, and he was...
I think it was at a Third Coast, yeah.
He was defending adeptly. So you can't really say that it's a historical problem unless you see a pattern over a very long period of time.
That's a good point.
So
he was a new black belt,
especially with some people as talented as Jimenez,
who's getting better and better at every matchup. So that was super exciting. I'm excited to talk about that in kind of more depth in probably I think it's a week away or 2 weeks away, something like that. Also on the card, Nicky Ryan versus a wrestler. I have his name. He is very credentialed wrestler through the NCAA system. His name is... I'm going to sound like such an idiot here because we don't really follow wrestling in the slightest. Tony Ramos, 120 and 14 NCAA wrestler out of Iowa. Super accomplished wrestler, now coaches for North Carolina. I'm curious to see if Flo's been pushing wrestler versus grappler matchups for a while now. And I think that's sort of to push more wrestlers into ADCC, especially with how well Nicky Rod did as a D3 standout. I am curious to see if, as we see more of these crossover matches with Bo Nickel and with Pat Downey and with Tony Ramos, if we're going to see more of these guys coming in to doing the trials this year.
Is it a wrestling match that he's doing?
I do not believe so. I believe it's just a regular 15-minute match, submission only with decision.
Okay.
I don't really see a pathway to victory.
No, yeah.
Especially where there's no points, but they're pushing it hard.
Okay. Whatever floats your boat.
Yep. So also announced is Gordon Ryan versus Mateus Diniz on that card.
That is pretty exciting. Obviously, they're both ADCC champs from this
at a weight
round.
class apart.
Yep.
Diniz won the weight class that Gordon vacated when Gordon moved up to plus 99. Or sorry, under 99, not plus 99. And now they're going to fight.
Yeah.
Funny thing enough, I just listened to a podcast with, it was a Matt Burn podcast with Hanger and with Keenan. And for some reason this last week, I listened to the episode with Diniz on it, which is 3 months old at this point. And I was listening to it, and actually on that episode, he talked about fighting Gordon and how he thought it would go and how it was a super interesting interview that they did, mainly because it was how all those guys have like fought each other a bunch. Like Hinger talked about fighting Deniz talked about fighting Hinger, Keenan talked about fighting Hinger and fighting Deniz, and they talked about like when to take legal grips. So it was a super informative, like competitive episode. And if you haven't listened to it, you should really listen. You should really listen to it because it's very, very similar to what we do. And they talked about like grabbing the fingers when Hinger tries to choke you, which will come up later in the episode. So yeah, I don't have any other news. Panzer's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Dude, I looked at the competitors list. There's still some really good competitors in this asterisk event.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. So I have nothing else. Oh, yeah, we're going to preview BJJ bet later in the show. I don't think I have any other stuff. Where do you want to start with this? Do you want to start with Subversiv 3? Do you want to start with SUG? Or do you want to start with Zapatero?
That's a tough call. Man, where do you want to start?
Putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do SUG because it's like Zapatero. I'm a little scared to to recap Zapatero because it was extremely confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's not terribly confusing.
Not extremely confusing. It's just there's a lot of matches, and it's like I'm kind of worried about exactly where we're going to.
I'm with that. Let's start with SUG then. That's a pretty clear, awesome, great card again. Yeah. Chael's been really stepping it up.
Too. Like just under 2 hours.
Under 2 hours. Like the talent, they've really figured it out. I feel like the past 5 or so SUGs have really stepped it up in terms of.
We've seen more like
grapplers,
high-level grapplers and jiu-jitsu guys, and we've seen more matchups with high-level jiu-jitsu guys against high-level jiu-jitsu guys, and occasionally they'll throw in some MMA guys here and there to pepper kind of like the SUG, like kind of the MMA flavor of SUG in the cage and everything. But more and more, we've seen very compelling grappling matchups.
So they headlined with a really compelling match, the rubber match between Mason Fowler and Craig Jones. Of course, the last time they met in SUG, it went to overtime, and Mason won a controversial decision, or not decision, won a controversial overtime with a maybe tap by Craig Jones.
With a noise from Craig Jones that in the SUG rules is counted as a submission, but that wasn't a tap.
Right.
But it was a noise that in SUG counts as a submission.
So this was a great rubber match, allowed them to kind of settle it. And
I wish it would have been more than 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
It is a travesty that this match was a 5-minute match in regulation.
Yeah, and especially because the actual regulation match, and by the way,
was better than the second match.
It was. And Mason Fowler actually defeats Craig Jones this time around in overtime via submission.
Via like a super weird, like neck cranky back.
Yeah, back bend. We'll get to that in a second.
Submission.
But like the regulation match was really exciting. It was very different from the previous SUG match between these two. Multiple times Craig is chaining leg entanglements into single leg takedowns, like really good at teching up.
We saw him wrestle up much more because I think it was super cool to see guys, because basically both these guys' last match was each other in the same rule set, in the same arena, in the same place. They had a month and a half off, and then they fought each other again in the same rule set. We almost never see that unless you see guys fight IBJJF like last round and first round. To have a matchup that's so similar again when the guys have had no other matches since that was really interesting, because we saw a bunch of different stuff with how Craig approached this match than the first one. Like he knew that Mason was going to disengage for 5 minutes, get away, look for the overtime. And he was like, okay, I've got to bring the fight to Mason. Like, I've got to get him down. I've got to put him in the wheelhouse that I want to bring
Mason
him
was not running. Like he was
not running away, but Mason was looking to engage on only the terms he wanted to engage in, and wasn't looking to go into the guard with Craig Jones and fight there.
Good scrambles here. Mason hits some sweeps and does a good job at pressuring in. So this was a very compelling regulation match. And then it goes to overtime. And in the first overtime, they both escape. And in the second overtime, it's Mason's turn. Like Mason escaped first, and then gets on the back, gets body lock, and as Maine said, it was a bizarre finish. Not with any controversy, just a really cool, different finish. Basically, Mason has a seatbelt grip, which is completely bizarre to me. So he has, one arm underneath Craig Jones' armpit, the other arm above and over, and he's gable gripping in front of Craig and lifting his forearm into Craig's chin.
I thought he had double unders under the chin.
No. If you look at it, it's a seatbelt grip.
Oh, should I miss that?
Yeah. It's
Wow.
bizarre. Actually, do I have a...
You have a screenshot
Yeah,
of
I
it?
do. Right there.
Oh, shit, I was wrong. Look at that.
Yeah.
I totally thought
It's a
that he had
seatbelt grip.
double. He had a double, like, I don't know why I thought that.
No, it was a seatbelt grip. And he gable grips in front of Craig's chin and basically just lifts up and does like a spinal lock / like neck
Backbreaker,
crank.
band. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is because I love my wife and she's the only person I'm training with right now. I don't want to try this on her. But when you get back to the gym one of these days, I'm going to try this on someone because I'm very curious, or have someone do it to me, honestly, because I'm very curious to see exactly like how it works. Like,
Yeah.
it's really rare that we see a new sub.
Yeah.
Like, once every couple months we saw this? Weird. I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen a guy tapped with this like this in a high level match in a very long time. Offhand, I cannot remember the last time I've
I
seen
can't think of it.
Yeah.
It's almost...
I heard someone say like, kind of like a twister, but I don't see it.
It's not... Yeah. It's
not like a
there's no
twisting spinal
twisting
lock.
motion. It's just Craig's back is being bent backwards.
Right. What I thought it was really interesting because Craig was much lower on Mason's chest than typical. Like typically
Yes.
in the rear naked choke
Yep.
scenario, you're gonna be like almost ear to ear.
Yeah.
Or like ear to chest. And Craig is very far down, almost like in the
Yep.
pecs of Mason here as he's pulling.
Yep.
And I don't understand exactly what the sub attacks and how it does it. So I don't have a lot of commentary to give here on it. It was super interesting.
Yep.
We don't see it a lot. There's definitely something maybe interesting and new in the meta here.
I think it's fucking goon as shit. And
I think it's
fucking
definitely
awesome.
goonish. Yeah, we saw Mason was strong as shit. So he definitively takes this one.
Yeah, Mason definitely has like put himself now pretty convincingly as a serious contender in Nogi. You know, like this was
in an EBI style rules, like you do not want to.
But even dude, like even in other rule sets, like in ADCC, he took it to Craig Jones.
Oh yeah.
You know, like if they met in ADCC rules, I give that like I think that's almost a push right now. You know, like I wouldn't necessarily say Craig takes that every time. You know, I think it's pretty close.
No, given the first match, that both guys had their moments.
Yeah.
Again, a 5-minute match is so hard to judge this on. Like
Yep.
I would
I
much
agree.
rather to see this as a 15-minute match.
Yep.
Just given
Even a 10-minute match, I think.
15. Yeah, give him 15. You hate 15-minute matches.
Yeah.
I know you hate 15-minute matches, but
Yeah.
I feel like I would love to see this long. I would love to see how this played out without kind of giving the position at the end.
Yep.
It was good. Definitely worth your time to go watch it. It's the trilogy match, so it would not surprise me to have these guys fight off again.
I'm sure we'll see it at some point. So next match we have a band alone defeating Gillian Robertson via sub in overtime. Richie Martinez defeats Ben Egley via submission in overtime. Roberto Jimenez defeats Jesse Taylor via armbar in regulation.
Dude jumps the triangle. Actually, he jumps like kind of a triangle, and then he tries to fall off. Who did he get with this? He tries to do that fall off the top armbar that we've seen him hit before. I think you saw him hit it at the last. It wasn't the last sub because that was all triangles for him. It's killing me because we've seen him hit this before, and I can't remember who he hit it against. But it was the same sequence, and then he basically, cool, you're in Roberto Jimenez's guard, and you are not one of the best dudes in the world. And he's got you postured down, and props to Taylor. Does a good job pushing on his face, trying to get up, but Jimenez is just tenacious, locks the S grip behind the body, keeps getting up, keeps getting up, goes for the triangle once. Taylor pulls out of it, and then on the second triangle entry, just postures him down. And Taylor goes to get out of it, and we see the exact same transition that he hit initially off the triangle to that, like, belly up armbar.
Yep.
Just a beautiful
Savage.
transition. In, like, what? A minute and 40?
It was quick.
Something like that?
Yeah, it was real quick.
And at no point did Jimenez look like...
He spent much energy, yep.
No, he just looked good. I mean, it was and again, it was kind of how we all had picked this match to go.
The triangle setup that is in the end sequence is really great too, because basically Jesse is pressuring over Roberto, and he tries to pin Roberto's arm to the mat. And so Jesse's arm is tied up, pinning Roberto's arm, and Roberto just like lifts his leg up and over like into the triangle. It was awesome.
It's what you see. What's the way? I see a lot of times where you'll block their own arm with that and do it, where you flare out their elbow and slide it through that way, and it's really similar to what it looks like. But Taylor has his own hand pinned by grabbing Roberto.
Yep.
Really slick setup. This is a setup that I actually teach when I teach how to set up triangles. So it's cool to see it work at a high level.
Yep. Next up, we have Ethan Crellinson defeating PJ Barch in overtime via submission.
This is a fun match.
This is a fun match. I love both of these guys so much.
It's nice to see Barch back. We haven't seen Barch. I think we saw him maybe once.
We saw him once after his injury.
At trials.
Yep.
And then we saw him. What was it? It's killing me. Is it a fight to win or was it who's number one?
I think it was one of the two. Yeah. We saw him back. This was great. Great guard play on both sides, really dynamic. Great armbar attempt by PJ. Leg locks on both sides.
Good leg locks, nice and controlled. You saw both guys systematically working through the positions. Like, I really enjoyed the technique of this match because both guys were very calm, but at no point did either guy look like, okay, I'm going to wait for him to go for leg. Like, both guys were, like, you saw Crellinson go for a leg, you'd see Barch go for a leg. You'd see Barch go for a leg, you'd see Crellinson, like, counter. It was really, really good, dynamic no-gi. Lots of it was in that, not 50-50, but the
double-seated open.
Not even. They were kind of entangled for most of the match. It wasn't that, like, just footsie. It was a really, really dynamic, good match. Mm-hmm. And then we go to overtime.
Yep. So in the second overtime, they both elect for the back. And again, the second overtime, Ethan gets a body lock and finishes a rear naked choke. Maine pointed out something really interesting. You want to elucidate?
So at the end of this match, if you go back and watch the actual finishing sequence, probably from like 15 seconds before Crellinson's able to get the tap over Barch, you see he has the rear naked choke in. He goes belly down, and then Barch is able to turn out. And then you see Crellinson get his arm behind the head and start to squeeze. And then you see Barch, veteran as he may be, reach back, and he starts grabbing at the fingers.
So, yeah, grabbing at the fingers.
He puts his knuckles into Crellinson's like eye socket and pushes against. Dog making weird noises. He puts the knuckles in the eye.
What is that? Bandit, what are you doing?
He's coughing. Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He does it sometimes. So Crellinson puts the knuckles in Barch puts the knuckles in Crellinson's like eye socket and pushes down while with his other hand he's gripping and grabbing the fingers. And he actually gets the hand off with that. And it was really funny in contrast to hearing about Deniz and Keenan and Hinger talk about doing that in competition. It's like, look, you're getting choked. You either get a point taken away or you grab the fingers. Make a choice. And it was really funny to see that in contrast to like hearing that earlier in the week. Crellinson's able to kind of readjust and get it done, but it was just a very, very kind of veteran move to sort of be a little dirty with grabbing the fingers. And the camera angle was perfect. The ref didn't say anything for it, but it was a very, very interesting sequence. And it's really credit to Ethan, able to sort of deal with that when his hands get pulled away to still maintain the grip on the rear naked choke and get it. Really, really nifty finishing sequence.
Absolutely. Pierre Leclerc defeats Skid Scrob via submission in overtime.
This is also another really fun match, like back and forth. Really good entries from Pierre for a lot of leg locks.
Frank Rosenthal defeats Phil Schwartz via armbar in regulation.
Dude, Rosenthal pulls quick, goes to the leg. I thought this was going to be like a 15-second match because he looks like he's so into the heel hook initially, but Schwartz does a really good job defending, and then Rosenthal does something I didn't think he was going to do. He disengages, and he starts to pass the guard. He hits a beautiful leg drag, and then gets the side control, and then goes top side, and I thought he was going to go for a Kimura on the top side, but he doesn't. He spins all the way around and hits like a beautiful door chalk armbar off the top in like a minute and a half.
Door chalk armbar?
The door chalk armbar, like a thing you put on a door to keep it in place, a door chalk. It's when instead of having your bottom leg over top of
you have
like
it underneath.
The rib cage, you have it like here.
Yep.
And so your foot's on the mat, still on the same side, and you're chalked into them. I call it a door chalk armbar. I don't know why I call it that, but it's like your foot's a door chalk in place to turn them over. And so it gives you less control, but it's faster to get to. And that's what Rosenthal hits as he slides with the top. He hits in a really nifty way, and it was just, it's not a sub you see hit that cleanly very often. And typically we know Rosenthal is a leg locker, so it's cool to see him like pass and then hit a submission off the top.
Next up, we have Justin Raneck defeating Don Stoner via escape in overtime.
Dude, these dudes, like, I'm curious. Chael talked about it in this match, how quick the escape time was. It must have been super close for Raneck because both these dudes in the escape were, like, lightning fast. I mean, it couldn't have been more than, like, 40 seconds total for either one of them.
Aaron Teagues defeats Nick Maximov in overtime by submission.
This is a gi match. A gi match going to overtime has to be the worst thing ever because they start with the grips, and you're like, oh, that's terrible. So I do appreciate that SUG is throwing some gi matches on still, and giving some love to the gi.
Chase Davis defeats Kyle Hinkle via heel hook.
So that was submission on the ground 17. Really curious to see what they do next, considering now that Craig and Roberto were going to fight in Who's Number 1. I kind of thought that they were pushing towards that match. I'm curious to see if they will do it regardless, but it just seemed like they'd been pushing Roberto up and up and up onto the main cards in the event, and we've seen more and more from him. I was curious to see if they were going to do that match for who was going to fight Mason again, maybe, because Mason's now the champion. I think it light heavyweight, or I forget what weight class these guys are actually is the champion now. Made 85, but I'm very curious. It was a lot of fun. The event's up on Fight Pass. It's about an hour and 58 minutes. I enjoyed it a lot. Gonna move to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's move on to I gotta find my results here. Let's move on to Subversiv 3. Emil, how do you want to do this?
So that's a great question. Let's first talk about the format.
Yeah.
It's 16-team tournament. Each team has 3 competitors, 2 men under 180 pounds, and 1 open weight woman.
Under 180?
Mm-hmm. That's what it says.
50. Jesus.
It says 180.
Okay. And then an open weight man, basically, over that. And then...
No,
over 180, under 180, over 180, and then you have an open weight women's match.
Yep, exactly.
And what is cool about Subversiv is that it's interbelt. So we saw all the way from top-ranked black belts to blue belts on this card.
Yep.
And it was very interesting to see what teams guys fielded. There was some discussion behind the scenes about what teams certain teams brought, if you brought a club team versus a pro team.
So speaking of that, do you want me to read through the teams? Because
let's read through. So what we're going to do is we're probably only going to cover the finals and maybe...
we'll do semis and finals.
Yeah, we're probably not going to go into the quarters just because each round, there's going to be 3 teams. There's going to be 3 matches for each team and team. So
right.
It'll just get way too complicated to go through. So you go through the teams, and then we will talk about the results we want to talk about.
Okay. Team Triton, that's Todd Whaling, Hunter Colvin, and Hannah Hario. SAS, Andrew Cockle, Daniel Mantis McGuire, and Allison Linderer. Checkmat, Samuel Nagai, Gabriel Almeida, and Nathalie Hibero.
By the way, last week, super missed you, Emil. I had to do the names because Zach was here. I missed you, Emil. I was happy to have you back.
Combat Concepts Academy, Henrique Nobrega, Garrett Andrews, and Melody McGill. Team Lead, Joseph Tonch, Yuri Santos, and Danielle Alvarez. Fight Sports, Lucas Santos, Aaron Tex Johnson, and Pamela Boveda. Unity, Team Unity, Levi Jones Leary, Devonta Bones Johnson, and Chloe Mcnally. Gracie Baja, Carlos Souza, Felipe Trovo, and Kendall Riesling. Legion Academy, Jacob Kasama, Michael Egley, and Paige Yvette. Black Widow MMA, George Castaneda, Omar Komal, and Catalin Nickdow. Team No Sleep, Ed Johnson, Seth Daniels, and Brittany Elkin.
Ed Johnson got replaced by John Combs.
John Combs. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Alliance Gold, Sam Snow, Felipe Andrew, and Jenna Bishop. Alliance 2, Fred Silva, Giancarlo Budoni, and Julia Balmonte. Henzo Gracie Orlando, Luca Ramaki, Ramiro Leon, and Joe Massanuev. Zenith, finally, is Drew Palomo, Marcelo Nunez, and Luciano Mota.
So I'm going to caveat this first of all. Go back and watch this event.
This is a dope event.
It was just
so
I watched this live.
The format is
fun.
It's a team of 3 versus a team of 3, where the under 180s are fighting each other. The 180s are fighting each other, and the women are fighting each other.
So it's just like the previous Subversives, where they don't run it in a quintet style format where the person wins and stays on. It's basically 3 super fights in a row, and it's the first team to get to 2.
Right.
So if your team wins both matches, you don't have to fight the third. Some teams elected to fight the third match. Other teams elected not to fight the third match. It sort of just depended team to team. And then if you were 1-1 going to the third match was the money match, and it was typically the women's match. And we've talked about this before. I really appreciate that Subversive.
Actually, the whole event came down to a women's match. Yeah,
last time.
Exactly.
I think last time it was Liz Carmouche versus.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Wasn't Emily Conan, I forget who it was. Yeah, like I really enjoyed that Subversive puts the pressure on the women, but puts those as the showcase matches, because we historically don't get to cover as much at high level women. So it's awesome to see hey. When you're 1-1, the women's match is the one that matters. Stay tuned. I really do enjoy that format.
I agree too. And so we'll go to the semifinals.
We're not going to start the finals and move backwards.
So semifinal matchup 1 is Checkmat versus Gracie Baja. That's just a phenomenal matchup. We have Gabriel Almeida defeating Felipe Trovo via split decision. This was a phenomenal match.
Dude, we don't get to cover Trovo very often, or it's really cool to see his game and how it stacked against Almeida. We've covered Almeida pretty recently, and so this is a fun ass match. This is a match I would have hated to score.
Yeah, impossible to score. Felipe attempts a really nice triangle. Basically, Gabriel was standing passing and stuffs the leg from a single leg, but he isn't able to drop his weight down, so Felipe shoots the triangle up.
Yeah.
Gabriel escapes, disengages, and then goes completely berserk, nearly takes the back. He mounts, gets an armbar attempt, and somehow Felipe survives to throw up a toe hold in the last 30 seconds. So it's just this crazy back and forth. Really exciting match. Next up, we have Kendall Reesing versus defeating Sanchi Hibero via split decision.
Another super close match here.
Really close match. Kendall getting some slams in, really heavy pressure. Nathalie is basically in lasso and spider guard for the majority of the match.
It's nice because we haven't seen Kendall in the gi in a little bit here. We've typically seen her. I think we've only ever covered her in no-gi matches, unless we covered her on a major before in the gi. She actually is signed up for pans in the gi, so it's very interesting that she's done the gi now at Subversive, and now is going 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks from now is going to be in pans. It was interesting to see her address the spider guard here with that just heavy pressure passing style.
Really awesome to see Nathalie just doggedly going after that knee bar attempt in the last 2 minutes. Really, really great back and forth. Next up, we have Carlos Souza defeating Sam Nagai via knee bar.
Dude, he was all over the knees.
He was on fire, dude.
This is
his second knee bar of the night.
Yeah. There was a match with Team No Sleep where he knee barred John Combs, and it looked like he was kind of going for a toe hold, and he hits this really great, extended knee bar, and the camera's right on it. The setup for it is beautiful. I think it would have been the round before this with Team Checkmat versus Team No Sleep.
Yeah.
It was Gracie Baja. Sorry. No.
So the way Carlos Souza hits this knee bar is he basically lifts from single leg, does just enough to get Sam Nagai off balance, goes to saddle, and goes through a crazy sequence. I mean, this is a maybe 2 minute long sequence of Sam Nagai defending his knee and Carlos just following through tenaciously, and he finishes the knee bar. I take that back. It wasn't 2 minutes, because he finishes this knee bar in total in 1 minute. So I
was like, are my notes wrong here?
No, it felt like a long time to me, but I think it must have only been about 20 seconds. But there's a lot of rolling through.
The defense was really nice to see, but for Carlos to stay on it, I was really, really impressed. Knee bar finishes are one of my favorite things, so the fact that he's getting multiple in an event made me very happy.
So Gracie Baja takes down Checkmat 2-1, and in the second semifinal matchup, we have Alliance Gold versus Unity.
Yeah, Alliance brought 2 teams.
Yep.
So they had a gold team and they had was it a white team, or was it?
I don't know.
I forget.
So this match, the first match here is Devonta Bones Johnson defeating Felipe Andrew via unanimous decision. Holy shit, what a match. This was an insanely dominant match by Bones.
We haven't seen Devonta in a bit here.
Yeah.
I forget the last time that we've actually like got a chance to talk about a Bones match.
This fucking guard passing by Devonta was next level. He goes from heavy over-under pressure passing, a beautiful transition into a leg drag, and from the leg drag, he gets his death grip. Like, one grip high behind the collar, and the second grip, he gets...
such a hard grip to address, too, especially with how Devonta gets it, because you can tell when he gets it and he locks... he's not using it as a transition grip. He's like, cool, I own this grip.
That's his grip. He basically whoops ass with that one grip the rest of the match, and he gets his second grip is like on the belt by the hip, and he just passes almost with complete ease. And to Felipe's credit, he's doing a lot to invert and prevent. And then Devonta just with that back collar grip, every time Felipe inverted, would just like haul him off of the fucking mat.
Yeah,
it was unreal.
I remember Devonta always being like a strong guy.
This was terrifying.
Dude, I forget the last time we've seen him just like with this level. He's always an intense guy. I remember when we first started doing this show, there was a fight to win, and Bones was on it, and it was a Baltimore card. And he's about to go up, and he's a brown belt still. He's not a black belt yet. And I think his opponent walks out, and then he walks out second, and he is just yelling to himself in the back or something. He's like yelling, and it's like, oh, this is an intense moment. And I wanted to film it, but I was too scared of what was happening to film it. And Josh was like, you should have filmed that. That would have been good content. And I was like, in hindsight, that is actually one of the moments that in backstage I will film a lot more stuff because I missed that moment. Bones is an intense dude.
Yep.
Backstage.
Awesome. Gets 2 fucking full guard passes before he settles into tight side control, and he gets to 3/4 mount basically with an arm triangle grip, and he keeps it for an extremely long time. Looks like a terrible place to be for Felipe Andrew, and even as if that wasn't dominant enough, Bones takes the fucking back and threatens the collar choke to end the match. One of the more dominant matches we've seen from Bones at black belt. Yeah,
like super, especially versus like Felipe Andrew.
Yeah,
who we've seen on a submission tear recently on like Third Coast and at Euros, and I think on Who's Number One. Like,
yeah,
he's been running through it. And to see Devonta like come back into the scene after not being on a pro card in a while and like be that pressure and dominant was nice to see.
Next up, we have Jenna Bishop defeating Chloe Mcnally via armbar. Just really awesome setup by Jenna Bishop. Jumps to a high guard. Chloe stands to defend. And as Chloe is turning, Jenna just does a beautiful transition right into an armbar. She had that nice double threat of armbar triangle from the high guard.
That high guard was really nice. I really loved like the control that she had there, and it almost seemed effortless when she opened it. She just slid over top with that top knee on the head to go for the arm. Really quick tap too.
Yep.
The control here was really great to see. Really
Next
nice finish.
Up, we have Levi Jones Leary defeating Sam Snow via Barata Plata.
I was actually kind of surprised in this match, because Levi Jones Leary is definitely the highest ranked guy in the gi in this entire tournament. And I was kind of surprised. He was in control the entire match, undoubtedly. I was kind of surprised that he took as long to finish as he did here. Like, credit to Sam Snow doing all the right stuff. He gets out of a crucifix at one point from Levi, but I was really surprised with kind of the way Levi took a lot of these matches, playing his A game. Like the A game that we see him play in IBJJF, the one we saw him play at Spider, like that is the only game that Levi Jones Leary is going to play in competition.
I mean, it works.
It does work.
Like Levi,
it is clearly a points game.
Yeah. I mean, Levi starts off the match with a Kiss of the Dragon into an Estima lock. So he's definitely he's not only playing points. He's throwing up submission attempts here. And as you said, actually because of Sam going for a really kind of like ill-advised footlock, gives Levi the opportunity to basically berimbolo him, and
Doesn't get the back though.
Doesn't get the back, but he gets up and then puts him in a crucifix.
Yeah.
And then
I thought we were going to see some Barry Yoshida action. The crucifix. So the crucifix was that low crucifix, the super high crucifix that Yoshida plays, where it's like the opponent's back is almost completely on the mat, and you're just behind their skull. And I thought we were going to see like a collar choke from that position, or like a rear naked choke from that position, like Yoshida does, because we've seen Yoshida on the Fight to Win stage a lot hit that move. But Levi transitions out of this.
Well, he doesn't transition. As you said, Sam like does a forward roll to get out, and Levi gets to kind of like a neutral omoplata position, and then he goes into a Barata Plata, and he's there for a long time. And finally, when
probably like a minute and a half.
Sam sits up, and that's when he dooms himself and gives Levi the space to get the shoulder lock. It was.
Don't see a lot of Barata Plata finishes, and there's this one.
I was about to say I can't remember ever covering one.
I think there was one on a Kasai card because Barata was actually on the card, and they were given an extra $500 for if you hit an Imanari, because Imanari was on the card, or a Barata Plata on the card. I think it's the last time. I think we saw one or two of them on. Wasn't Kasai Dallas? It would have been the Kasai before the Dallas card, so probably
nice.
This probably like October of last year would be the last time I saw a Barata Plata.
So Unity wins 2-1, and
talk about third place matches.
Yeah, third place we have Alliance Gold versus Checkmat. Felipe Andrew defeats Gabriel Almeida via straight ankle lock.
Do not let Felipe Andrew grab your feet.
Howell even said this during the commentary. He's like, Felipe has a nasty straight ankle lock.
We saw it at Third Coast. Remember that?
You don't want to get into a shootout with him. And sure enough, like, I really like this finish. Felipe gets a strong grip, almost like an Estima style grip. He doesn't have any hip control. He just uses that to control and kind of like keep the distance and just keep the ankle while he techs up. And then once he's like basically one knee up and one knee down, he grabs onto the leg and he rolls extremely hard and forces Gabriel Almeida to roll with him to belly down. And once he's belly down, it's like it's all over. I mean, instant tap.
We've seen Felipe hit a couple of these ankle locks. This is kind of most similar to one we saw most recently at Third Coast. I think in the semifinals of Third Coast. I'm guessing that it doesn't feel super dangerous when he sets it up or something. Like this, he always has kind of a funny setup to these where it's like they're kind of dangerous and all of a sudden he's just on your leg.
Well, he usually explodes through. In this case, I think Gabriel Almeida thought he was safe because, again, Felipe, when he first got the grip, didn't have his feet like on Gabriel to like create the space at all. Yeah. I mean, like he literally just had the leg. He's
got funny setups like this where he'll jump into the leg almost like after the fact if he has the foot grip. Like ever since he triangled Keenan, like I've been watching more and more Felipe Andrew footage trying to figure out his game because he's just like sneaky with how like we saw with the Barbosa triangle. Like it was just a sneaky setup. Like the ankle like here, it's a sneaky setup. Like he does a bunch of stuff from when you would think is like a different position than is standard. It's cool. Like I'm coming to really appreciate Felipe Andrew's submission game.
Absolutely. So next up we have Sanchi Hibero defeating Jenna Bishop via split decision. Sam Nagai defeats Sam Snow via ankle lock. Sam Nagai goes belly down on the ankle lock. It seems I really like this. It seems like he actually uses one arm to like push Sam Snow's knee into the position that he needs before he goes belly down to get the finish.
Really tight ankle lock.
Really tight. Also pretty quick too.
Yeah. This is honestly another really, really cool transition. Locks it, turns down. Like I loved the control in the spin here to go belly down on it. It's one of those, you see a guy go for the spin and Sam's just not able to cover the distance in time and just the leg is there still. It's really, really great like setup and being just one step ahead, and it's great to see.
So Checkmat wins third place, 2-1. In the finals, we have Gracie Baja versus Unity. Levi Jones Leary defeats Carlos Souza via unanimous decision. It was a pretty slow match. Levi plays collar sleeve guard very well. Next up, we have Felipe Trovo defeating Devonta Bones Johnson via triangle.
Every fight to win or a fight to win style card, there is a restart. And someone gets got on a restart.
Yeah, well, there's a sub off of the restart.
Yeah.
It does happen a lot. And in this case, Felipe gets a single leg, does a great job at fighting Devonta down, and comes around to the back, but Devonta does a great job at regarding, and he basically has a knee shield, half guard, off of the mat onto the walkway.
Yeah.
And that's where they stop and get reset.
As you do, which is like that's a reasonable restart.
And so, Devonta has this like far knee shield, and they keep the grips the same. And Felipe, once they're told go, Felipe jumps into a triangle, flying triangle.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's a bad restart, by the way. I'm just saying that,
it's not a bad restart.
No, but every time on one of these we see a restart and we see one competitor is ready for the restart.
Yeah.
And then someone gets got. And then so this with this on this card was the match. It happened to be in the finals match, which is always interesting, but. Man, pay attention to your restarts. So
it's tied up. It goes to Kendall Rusing and Chloe Mcnally for the gold. And
for the prize money.
Yep. Kendall defeats Chloe via arm triangle. Kendall is going over underpass, and Chloe goes for a triangle.
Yep. I was wondering. I was like, I don't think that she's going to be able to flex down Riesling here to
no. So that's basically a triangle with the leg in as well.
Well, the commentary says it. Yeah. I love the comment. I was looking at it. I went, that's a leg in triangle. And the commentary was like, oh, yeah, going for the triangle. Actually, that's the leg in triangle. That's a triangle.
Yeah.
And I went, I feel like that's not possible from this position given the pressure game of Kendall.
That's right. So Kendall pressures in, gets a head grip, breaks through, gets an arm triangle, and
what was really impressive here is that Kendall doesn't cut to the side to finish this.
No.
From the half guard.
Yeah.
Arm triangle from the mat. That kind of speaks to the pressure game that Kendall has.
Yep.
Because we very rarely ever see arm triangles finished from the top of half guard.
Yeah.
You got to have a special squeeze for that. And Riesling has it. So that was an uncommon finish. So that was cool to see.
Great to see the event also end on a finish,
Yeah, and on a finish, and on a women's match finish.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Dope.
I'm a huge fan of that. This event was fun.
So Gracie Baja wins 2-1.
Yep, and they take the victory over Unity.
Really fun event.
Watch this event.
I wish I had seen it live so that I could have felt the build up.
It was
even watching it in retrospect. Really great matches. Short matches, 6-minute matches. I love those.
Even the matches that were a little bit slower. I liked the stakes behind it because
exactly.
I thought it was okay, this is kind of a slow match, but then you go, well, this match does really matter. So I cared about the results of the slow matches because it's if this guy wants to kind of piss it away here and not be actively looking for something, he's fucking his team over.
Right.
And so I really liked it. I also loved that we saw I don't want to call them mismatches. We saw a bunch of guys trying to punch up and a bunch of really established guys who are more experienced grapplers, and I love that we see
it's chaotic. I love it. Yeah,
it's so rare that we see black belts or brown belts take matches with purple belts and blue belts, and we saw a huge mix of weights. It was such a cool event. Now I don't want to see every event like this, but I really enjoyed it. Honestly, a lot more than I thought I did. When I first saw the matchups and I looked up the guys, there's some blue belts here, there's some purple belts here, some brown belts. I wasn't as hot on it, and then I got to eat my words on that. I didn't talk about it publicly, but watching it, man, I really enjoyed how this event ran.
It was great.
It was a lot of fun. I think Subversiv, killed it. The whole fight to win crew actually were on the card too. Killed it. I would love to see a Subversiv 4 in this format. It was just
I
a
like
lot
the
of fun.
three-person teams too.
Yeah. 6-minute matches, and it was the whole event. There were no super fights between it. It was just, here's the card. Once you figured out the format, which took me like a couple matches to figure out, okay, how are we doing? Okay, here's the teams. Okay, this is how it's going to run. I think the announcing was really good on it, so I could keep everything straight. I enjoyed it. It was on Friday night too. It made for a really fun weekend because I got to go back and like watch some of the stuff that I wanted to watch in it that I wasn't kind of sure about live. I enjoyed it. Big props to that whole team for getting that done. It was dope. Anything else on it?
No, it's great.
All right, let's move on to a recap of Zapatero. I don't have full results on this, but I do have a couple matches. Jordan Holy versus Robert Deagle. Both guys we've covered a lot. Holy gets that done via triangle. This was I think 155 and below 8-man bracket. Some great guys in there. We saw a finals match versus Krikorian and Holy that you should definitely watch. Krikorian takes that. Really great finish. I love watching both those guys fight each other. I think both those guys have fought each other 3 times. Did they fight in Shugyo? Do you know?
I can't remember.
Off the bat, I didn't ask you this before the show at all. We had a finals match. We had a super fight match. Jacob Curran versus Quentin Rosenwig. And Rosenwig hits a really nice knee bar that gets super extended on Jacob Curran. I was like watching Rosenwig leg lock people, and so that was a good way to finish the card. You can find the whole card for free on YouTube. Zapatero Jacobs versus Rosenwig. So that does it. You want to move into the preview section?
Let's do it.
All right, moving into the preview section. BJJ bet. It's the only thing we got. It is a pay-per-view next week. It is $14.95 US. I'm gonna buy it. I think like all the teams gonna buy it. Dude, this card is headline. It's worth the money. You'll hear in a second. Headlined by Roberto Cyborg Abreu versus Kainan Duarte. Does Kainan have a nickname?
No, he doesn't. Not that I know of
Can
anyway.
you look it up on BJJ Heroes?
Yeah, let me look it up.
Because I realized that like Kainan's like a dude, is like one of the dudes now. Like I want to see him fight. I'm super amped for this matchup, but I also want to see him fight Gordon because I think that would be a dope matchup. There's not a single guy that I don't want to see Kainan fight.
Yeah.
Like I'm amped for it. Nickname or no? Next time we interview,
not really.
Next time we interview Kainan, we gotta ask him. Hey, Kainan, do you want a nickname? Do you have a nickname? Because like Cyborg's got
Are
a dope
you
name.
gonna try to nickname him?
I'm not gonna try to do shit, but I'm gonna ask him. Hey, Kainan, do you have a nickname? Has Gaval given you a nickname? Do you have a nickname? Because like it's super weird for a Portuguese dude or a Brazilian dude to not have a nickname.
It's true.
So what do you think about this matchup? This is a plus 95 kilogram.
Felipe Andrew doesn't have one.
He does.
What is it?
I don't know it, but he has one. I've looked it up on BJJ Heroes.
Okay. Yeah, this is a tough match. We talked about how tough of a match this was going to be to pick.
This is 2 guys that we historically like learned to not pick against.
Yeah.
You just don't pick against Cyborg. You don't pick against Kainan.
I know it's a push for me, but if I had to pick one, I'd pick Kainan.
Do you think it's gi or no-gi? I'm assuming it's no-gi because
it says no-gi on top.
Oh, thank you, Emil. This is why, I feel like you should be the showrunner half the time. Okay, I don't want to pick yet. Let's talk about the dynamic of the matchup. How do you think it's going to go? Are either of these guys going to pull, or are they going to work takedowns?
I think we talked about this a little bit before, but I think takedown-wise, Cyborg gets it. Like
I would agree.
I could see Kainan trying to stand with him for a little bit. I do think that's a losing prospect, although you might end up spending less energy than if Cyborg's trying to pass you for all of that time. So I could see Kainan standing with him for a while, eat up a little bit of time, because Cyborg's stand-up is good, but he's not going at you 100%. He's usually
he's a burst
waiting.
fighter.
Yeah, he's a burst fighter.
Yeah.
He's usually waiting for that moment. When the moment comes, he seizes on it, and
he has that head in the chest blast double.
He's going to take you down.
Suplex.
He's going to take you down.
He can get almost anyone in the division down. The only guy that he can't get down, like I would curious to see if he can get Sanchez down, Orlando Sanchez, or Rodriguez. Like those are the only guys that I wouldn't reliably pick Cyborg to take down in the division.
Yeah. So other than that, yeah, I see. So I see Kainan. It's going to be guard work. Kainan's guard work is like
beautiful.
Yeah, it's.
Do you think Cyborg can pass Duarte
No.
and Nogi? So do you think it goes decision then? I actually do not know what the rule set is here. If we're doing points or if we're doing decision. Given the fighters that we have on here, I would guess it's going to be an IBJJF style scoring points.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess that it's not going to be some. I mean, we have like Mcnally, we got Santos, we got Gracie. We have,
if it's IBJJF, I think this gets decided by ads.
Yeah.
I think this is an ad match.
Dude, I kind of want to lean Cyborg, but I don't like. I lean to both guys. I see very clear outcomes in this match for either grappler. Like, I could see, like, oh, cool, Cyborg gets a takedown and is able to just, like, put Duarte down. He can't pass, but he doesn't let Duarte ever tech up or get anything going. And I can see a match where it's like, okay, Duarte gets to the ground, like, either via pull or something else.
Get some near sweeps.
And then gets some near sweeps and wins via ads.
Maybe
like,
even, yeah. I feel like sweeping Cyborg and Nogi is going to be damn near impossible. So
yeah, I agree. But that's kind of my thought process of how the match goes. Is like, I can see Cyborg getting it down. I don't really see Duarte getting Cyborg down, although I wouldn't be surprised at all because Duarte has surprised us numerous times with like just speed, the athleticism, and like the drive that he has on certain positions. So let's come back to this one. What do you think? You got a pick?
I already did. Yeah, it's Kainan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's too. I hate to pick against either guy.
It's like Kainan by ads,
Yeah, that's probably. Next match, we have Gregor Gracie versus Zaki Bahens. 85 kilogram match, 10 minutes. I kind of want to lean Bahens on this. If it's I think this is also Nogi, correct?
Bahens is very hot and cold, but when he's hot, he's fucking monstrous.
Yeah.
He had that really absurd sequence a few weeks ago that we were gushing about.
Was it on Third Coast? Or was it on
I think
Fight
so.
to Win? Or Hughes number 1?
I think it was I can't remember which promotion it was on.
The thing is, right now we're only covering, for the most part, Fight to Win and Who's Number 1 and Third Coast. So it's like all of the matches are blended together. It's also, we're usually covering the same 25 guys because that's the only guys that can fight right now, given the state of the world. So I'm getting very, very confused recently with like who's fought who on where and on when. Because also Third Coast and Fight to Win have very different rule sets. So that colors how these matches go a lot of times. What are you seeing? He might be listed under Zaki Braz, not Bahens or Bahanis, depending on who's announcing him out. I want to lean Bahens. We've seen Bahens more recently. We've seen him. He's at the top. Gregor's looked, good recently. We've seen him on Polaris and we've seen him on Quintet, I think. But I'm definitely going to lean Bahens here, potentially by sub, if he can get past Gregor's guard here, which I think he's probably going to get Gregor down, probably going to implement the passing. I could see him getting something on top, most likely a choke.
Yeah, I couldn't find it, but next up we have Sanchi Hibero versus Wagner Hosha.
Sanchi's back, baby.
Yep.
Back on Fight to Win, and now he's back on BJJ Bet. We just haven't seen a ton from Sanchi recently. He looked amazing on his return matchup, but Wagner has been so active so consistently. I think Sanchi's the bigger fighter, but again, we've seen Wagner going up. This is a 95 kilogram match.
That's a big difference. I'm going with Sanchi.
I'm going with Sanchi. I think Wagner's just not going to be that big.
Yeah, Wagner might be like 185 or at 85 now, like.
I can see Wagner like not cutting, walking around, because he looks thicker.
Yeah,
we saw him versus was it Rotolo? It wasn't Rotolo. We've seen him versus Rotolo. Who did he fight a couple weeks ago? Was it Steele? That was on Submission Underground a couple months ago. Who do we just see him fight? And he was like visibly thicker. Might have been a Who's Number 1 matchup. But I forget who it was. But no, I just don't see Wagner at 95 kilos.
Ronaldo Jr.
Oh, that's what on Who's Number 1.
Yeah.
Yep. They replaced for Craig.
They were saying that he was around. He looked like he was like in the 88 kilogram range there.
I got to give it to Sanchi just on weight
and skill. And that's not that's not a knock against Wagner. It's just Sanchi is like one of the all-time greats. And you're going up a full 2 weight classes to fight one of the dudes, and Sanchi's historically been 88, 99, I think, even not bigger. Yeah.
So that should be a dope matchup. I see a lot of this match taking place on the feet.
I honestly have not watched enough Sanchi to be able to tell you. I do know like his closed guard is supposed to be absolutely monstrous. But like, I don't know if he pulls closed against Wagner because, do you really want to get into a standing battle with Wagner? Like,
he's gonna smack you in the face for 5 minutes.
Yep. I mean, he's also just gonna throw you around even
He's
still.
gonna club you, but Sanji's also like ADCC champion. Like him and his brother, I think he has the most ADCC matches of any grappler of all time.
Yeah,
Sanji. He has not missed an ADCC since the last one. We literally had his hand he had to get his hand reconfigured.
Yep.
I'm gonna lean Sanji here. Next match we have Atalo Mora versus Leandro Lara. I don't know why I'm doing the names. We have an old school match. It's listed as old school. Rodner Barata versus Marcos Barbosa. We have a kimono match. Herber Santos versus Felipe Pena. Let's talk about this one.
That's
100 kilograms,
be a
10 minutes.
Fire match.
The rematch. Well, actually, this is they fought a couple times.
Yeah.
But this is the rematch of the BJJ Stars matchup where Herberth rushed the stage to fight Felipe Pena's brother.
That's right.
I was honestly, until that match got weird.
That was a good match.
It was a very close match.
It was close. Yep.
Again, this whole match hinges on which Herberth shows up. Like I think all Herber Santos matches.
Yeah.
What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Maybe I haven't seen Herberth in complete world beater mode in a little while.
We saw him look really good last time. Like I want to say a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he looks good.
What did we cover him on? What was he on? Was he on? What was in Brazil a couple weeks ago? Was it BJJ Stars?
I think there was a BJJ Stars.
Yeah, there was a BJJ Stars that he was on, and he looked really, really good. I forget who he fought on that.
Yeah, he looks good. I like watching Herberth when he's on his A game. He just doesn't look like, whatever that was, 2018
when he won the
or
Worlds.
2017.
2017, I think.
Like monster Herberth.
Yeah.
We'll see. I have Pena taking this.
I kind of want to pick Herberth just because that BJJ Stars match was a little bit of a return to form. And I feel like if he has that fire and he can perform, like he is so explosive. And like even I remember how he looked against Margali at Spider, like before that match got weird again. I am curious to see if the fire is still going to be there because of the first matchup that they had at BJJ Stars when his brother was heckling him. And I'm kind of serious if there's still bad blood there. If there's bad blood, I can see him not taking it. But if he's like a return to form and like a professional competitor again, I kind of want to lean Santos on this one. Next match, your favorite, Nicholas Mergali versus Leandro Lowe, open class. This is a rematch from Worlds, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
All I know is
before.
Mergali is going to take this.
You never pick against Mergali.
No.
So you think he plays top or bottom?
That's a good question.
I see Mergali on top.
Yeah. It's impossible to predict with him. He does both.
So does Lowe. Leandro does both. We've seen Leandro.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, because I've seen Mergali before, where I'm like, oh, he's gonna, just be passing this time, and then he'll pull guard and he'll sweep. He that's like his. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he's just like, yeah, that's the easiest path to victory. It's impossible to predict with him. I can't say for sure what he's gonna do in that regard.
But you're gonna pick
if I were Leandro, I would probably pull.
You think Mergali takes you down?
It's more like how much energy.
Mergali's guard.
It's more like how much energy do you want to expend?
Oh, especially in a one-off match, just super fight matchup with Mergali.
Because we know
has that gas tank.
Mergali has beyond. I mean, it's not even a gas tank. It's like he never stops.
He can run at you full speed for the entirety of a match for as long as that match is going to be.
And then, not look phased afterwards.
And we've seen Leandro
does not look like that at all.
Yeah, we've seen Leandro get a little tired towards the end of matches.
So I could see him trying to pull guard and just like, slow it down a little bit.
That's kind of what Keenan talked about when he fought Mergali. Was like he knows Mergali's going to come out guns blazing, so he has to slow him down a little bit, kind of not put him into deep water, but put him into a pace that is much more manageable because he is so explosive in the beginning of the match, which is kind of somewhat what we've seen from Leandro as well. I'm super curious how this match goes. I know it's a rematch, and I don't remember. I think Mcnally took the last one, but I don't know. I would kind of favor Mcnally here just because it's dumb to pick against Mcnally. It's dumb to pick against Lowe, too, but...
He's not... Lowe's good, but he's not, like...
I mean, he's only one of the most accomplished guys in the gi ever.
Yeah, but, like, 5 years ago, I would have, like, been like...
Dude, he's podium at Worlds every year. Every year. Crazy. Won pans every year, basically. Since forever.
Yeah. There's a difference, though. I mean, like, Mcnally is like a fucking buzzsaw, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
That neutral buzzsaw.
He is something else.
So I got nothing else on that. I think I'm also gonna pick Mcnally. I'm a huge Lowe fan, so I kind of want to see Lowe take it, but I feel like the pacing alone and like the dynamism of passing and just the speed that Mcnally operates, I think he's gonna kind of not overwhelm Lowe, but I just think that will be what gets it done. We have Marcus Petko versus Servio Tullio. That should honestly be a really fun match, too. 85-kilogram match. We have Gabriele Pisana versus Yadi Sodas. I think that's a TLI. Pisana is a TLI person now. We have Diego Pato versus Alex Sodre. That's really good. Last thing we covered Sodre, I think, was an AJP. Was a UAEJF event. We have Gutenberg Parata versus Ryder Zerchi. I don't know much about Ryder, but Gutenberg, we've covered him a bunch. GF team fighter for a long time. Was the light heavyweight champion at Fight to Win. Took it over Spriggs at the Maryland event. And, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add on that match because I'm not too familiar with Ryder's game. And we have... you do this name, Emil.
Mayram Makin versus Fabricio Andre.
And we have an under 23 match.
Felipe Porto versus Micah Galvao.
Dude, Micah Galvao has looked unstoppable recently.
Yep.
We saw him on, I think, the first Who's Number 1 card. Just look crazy good. I think he's a purple belt still. I don't think he's a brown belt. I think he's that weird... Not weird. He is what the Rotolos are. They are the juvenile purple belts. Which is... Like, I got special class IBJJF had to make a couple years ago with basically like, look, you can't be a blue belt anymore, but you're still a juvenile, but you're a purple belt. So they're juvenile purple belts, which I think is under 18 purple belts. So they're 17.
This is interesting. They have a little thing where you can make your picks on BJJ Bet's website.
Oh, snap. Look at that. Oh, it's because it's a betting website.
Yep, yeah.
Oh, we are about to bet some money, Emil.
Oh, boy.
How much money do you want to put up on this card? If we can, okay, so let's talk about this on the show. You didn't talk about this beforehand, but you usually talk about the segments beforehand. If betting is allowable in your jurisdiction, I'd recommend put some money on it. If you've ever bet on BJJ before, it's a lot of fun. It is very fun to bet on that. Don't bet a lot of money, but if you're play dollar bet at Fight to Win, it makes that card so much fun live. How much money do you want to put up, Emil? You want to go heads up bets, or do you want to do like each of us put in, what we're comfortable with? What do you think?
I would do like $10.
I'll put in $10.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Now, do you want to do pool betting, or do you want to make your own bets? So if we can put all the guys from the team together, make our picks, or you want to have each guy make their own pick, and then we all see at the end of the night who wins.
I'd be curious because I feel like there's a couple of those matches. I think the one off the bat, I feel like Cyborg versus Kainan, probably we're all gonna have different.
Yeah.
Like that's so unknown that we'll have no idea how to go. Then the
like this one for 15 card's like a $35 card.
Yeah.
But hopefully you can win some money.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd be down.
Okay. We'll definitely do. Oh, look at that. There's a prize pool, $10,000 guaranteed prize pools. They have a whole thing of how the betting works. Yeah, I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
Please do not go off of our picks on the show at the Grappling Rewind. Do not at me after we get everything wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Grappling Rewind in no way endorses the picks that we make on the show. This is just what we think at the time. Usually once Josh and Simon and Zach bitch at us later in the week, we kind of go, yeah, maybe we should change our picks. But, September 6th, BJJ Bet Brazil. Hope the card goes off without a hitch. I'm looking forward to it. I think that does it. There's only one preview this week. Jits King Largo is happening. It is a youth event that is happening on Flow Grappling. You can watch that. There's some really great youth matches on that card. It looks like a lot of fun. They put up some like imagery on their Instagram. It looks like a very, very fun card. If you're interested in that, you should definitely watch it. What do you got on this week, Emil?
That's it, man. Just getting back into yoga.
Nice. Yeah, Rachel and I are starting to train more in the basement.
Sweet.
And we're training like 3 or 4 times a week now. So
Nice.
I am back. My body's like hurts in weird places again.
Yep.
I've been playing this shit on Nintendo Switch. Rachel got me a Nintendo Switch.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I beat Mario Odyssey already. It's great. Started playing Breath of the Wild.
Oh, my God.
I hate it.
What?
Yeah. I don't know why. I'm just weird.
What the fuck
I just can't get into it, man. I got to the first 4 shrines, and I'm just like, it just does. I don't know if I'll get into it later, but
Oh, my God,
yeah,
dude.
man. I realize it's me.
That's one of my favorite games.
Playing a lot of Super Smash Brothers. It's been a good week.
Yeah. Switch is amazing.
So you got nothing else going on this week?
Mm-mm.
All right. There's kind of a super short outro.
Yeah.
I think we'll preview Pans. Maybe bring Zach on for Pans again.
Yeah.
It's a gi major, and Zach typically likes the gi majors.
Yep.
But I think that's all I got. So as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine. I'm the co-host.
Emil?
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats whenever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
Let us know.
reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.